Wow, that introduction was amazing. Thank you. And to those who did not have tickets for this presentation and are outside, I'm very sorry, it'll be on YouTube. Okay. Here we go. So, anyway, I want to start off by saying that the program we had was Sustainable Urban Neighborhoods, and it was a diverse group of people from all over the world. India, and some of these folks have gone on to get good jobs. Some are still here, like Glenda. That's Glenda you met on the bus. And Martin Luther King III, not the second or the first, but Martin Luther King III, loved what we were doing in terms of creating great neighborhoods, green neighborhoods, and so forth. So I want to just start off with that and the whole Southern Christian. And he's taken over the helm of his father. I want to thank you, the various people who have helped us, Telus Corporation, Christian Care Community, City View Park, Neighborhood Associates, my own company as well. And this is about preservation and why we need to do it. In Amsterdam, you can't knock down any building. You have to save it. And so there in Amsterdam, you have 400-year-old buildings, which are amazing. And it provides a cultural context, which is very good. And when you think about what cities you like to go to, we love to go to old cities where there's preservation, whether it's Rome, Paris, Barcelona, Amsterdam, San Francisco, Chicago, New York City, and other places. We love to go to the Taj Mahal as well, to see that kind of history. Even in our own local experience, the most successful 5-star restaurants are located in old buildings as a good startup in terms of where they managed to go there to do it. Think of Bardstown Road, think of Nulu, think of Main Street, think of Frankfurt Avenue. You want to do a high-quality restaurant where you can see the bricks, feel the wood, and see how it's structured. People get attached to that in many ways, and I've been involved in that. Here's a picture of before and after of a building that once housed 650 people, built in 1960, got all kinds of architectural awards. It was called Village West. Village West. And we took that opportunity. It's what we call good bones. Good bones means the bricks are there, the water, the sewage is there, the sidewalks are there, the driveways are there, the plumbing's all been put in there, the electrical. All it needed was a good touch-up. But people are attracted to what? Beautiful places. Beautiful places. People want, just like a car that you want to get. You have two choices between a Datsun 1972, which is what I used to drive, versus a Jaguar. People, given all things equal, will choose the most beautiful thing. And people have a pride of place. Pride of place could be your house, it could be your neighborhood, it could be your city. And one of the things about preservation that I particularly like is the notion of that we want to preserve things that are beautiful. And we fight for it. And Steve's always, Steve is wiser right here forwarding, and maybe we'll have him make some comments after, but he's been in the leadership of preservation. Preservation is about the human soul, quality of life. Preservation is about sustainability. Sustainability that you're reusing materials and not throwing them away into a landfill. Preservation also means prosperity, and I'll be talking about that later too. But here's some of the exciting things that we've done in the past as students as well as community members, and they fought for this. And here's another. And we have 5,000 boarded up buildings. Now, a lot of people say, when they see an ugly building or something that's boarded up or something with graffiti, they go, what do they say? What should we do with it?
Tear it down.
Tear it down, that's right. Right here in the front. Tear it down, destroy it. And that's not the right thing. You always say opportunity. I could do something with this building. And indeed, one of the things that drives people is the opportunity to go there and see if they can fix it up and repair it. And you again see examples of that. And when people see investment, that's when and that's why we like gentrification in the sense that if people are investing in a neighborhood, believing in a neighborhood, that's the thing that will make them come back. And Holly White was a mentor to Jane Jacobs. I just learned that recently. And Holly White was someone that says, you don't have investment in a neighborhood, people will abandon it. You know, people don't keep up their buildings and so on, shape it, people will leave it. Here's another example of what was the corner liquor store, and upstairs was a crack house, and a terrible thing, terrible waste of human energy. And we worked to convert it into a beautiful family housing and so on. This is another project, which is the tallest building in West Louisville, 5 stories. And our partner is the Louisville Central Development Corporation under leadership of Sam Watkins. And again, one of my current former students, Kevin Fields, directs this whole program. They're the second largest funded group from United Way. And they put this together to create synergy where people can talk about entrepreneurial activities. One of the things that Mark Wright from our school did, we were fortunate to get him, was there's lots of lots. We were able to get the lots for $1 a piece. Lots cost money. And the city says, if we can get some building going on there, we can get it going. And we did renovations. And by the way, when you're renovating an old house or something like that, it's half the cost of doing something new. We called it Pioneer Park, a place where, known as that, is pioneer, the idea that you're a pioneer, you're going into a place with low-cost housing. And here's the group of people that worked with us, black and white, religious, legal, and big pockets money at the old Village West. And this is a really exciting thing. The woman right here, Deborah Todd, actually led the movement to save her housing. Screamed and yelled in front of the TV sets, don't let them take away my housing, and it was very effective. And the other person here is Marilyn Maconian, who was from Washington, D.C., a long-term friend, who's now, her company has built or renovated 16,125 units in 23 different cities. And that's a $2.4 billion investment in preservation. And here we are, we just saw the mayor recently at a meeting, Jerry Abramson, a great mayor. And again, there's Sam Watkins, and this is the first home ownership. When you talk about equity, did you know that only 39% of blacks own homes versus 79% of the whites? That's a real, and this is where you get your buildup of your equity over time. Housing is, as I will show you, is the best investment. It's the best investment in renovation. Start off small. I started off very small myself with just a $32,000 home on First Street. And we partnered up and worked with people. We've now built 200 single-family homes with partners, principally developed by Mark Wright, Louisville Central Development Corporation, and so forth. And home ownership, when you have home ownership, you think differently. So when someone throws a rock through the window next to you, and you're a renter, you might not care so much about it or get involved. But when it's your property or the property next door, you will protect it. Homeowners are good stewards of the neighborhood, good preservationists and so on. I was looking at the crime numbers, and crime during this matter of the home ownership actually went down. People own homes, they're more vigilant, they're on the neighborhood, and so forth. Foreclosures were down to 0. Second highest percentage increase in neighborhood property values and so on. Lots of opportunities, accomplishments, educational levels went up, joblessness went down because people wanted to stay in there. Trolley Barn became the Kentucky African American History Museum, and that was beautiful. We believe that preservation is an opportunity to find prosperity, and it's a good thing too. You can't really see these notes, but what I'm trying to say is that when you compare it to an interest rate of maybe 2%, a bank interest rate of 3%, stock portfolios of 9%, which is pretty accurate. But when you invest in real estate, especially historic buildings, it's amazing that the return on investment is going to be up to, over 30 years, 388% versus 81% for banks, 162. It's a superior investment. And if you're a good landlord or a good owner, you can do really, really well. And look how much you're just putting down there too. You know, the leverage possibility of investing in historic properties, where you're putting down 7%, 5%, and compare that to what you get by putting in the bank. I mean, I myself put down $3,500 for my first house, and that literally tripled in terms of the housing going up from 35,000 to 100,000, and doing that, and then using that for leverage to buy other houses. Profits in real estate, people think it's just about cash flow. I never got any real cash. I took all the cash and invested it back into the housing, and so on. But you always get appreciation. If you look at real estate markets in Louisville, you find out that real estate prices double every 7 years, and so on. This is the house that I redid that you'll get to see on the tour of the Highlands. It looks pretty bad. And what were the neighbors saying, ladies and gentlemen? What were they saying? Tear it down, right, tear it down. It's ugly, it's an eyesore, and so on. And I saw beauty in it. You know, I was able to imagine beauty in it, and this is what I turned it into. Is that beautiful or what? Right there, $150,000 at the time, sold later for $500,000 right there on Morton Street. And I kind of made it into a sort of a Florida type colors. But the other thing we got into was chromatic homes and colors. I guess that's in part why you know, you want to save a neighborhood. The cheapest way to do it is paint the house, do the landscaping in the front, so people look at it and they're proud of it. Here's another example. What were the people in Portland saying?
Tear it down.
I can't hear you.
Tear it down.
That's right, they said tear it down. And guess what happened? We had a graffiti artist who was nominated for Best Album Design for the Grammys with his finalist, Danny. And he did this to it. And now it's going to be turned into a children's museum. From this to this. From this to this. What do you think of that? And look at that. Now, when you see that, doesn't that look like a fun house to go to? Doesn't that look like golly? So it makes you want to, you know, and everyone can do preservation. We've seen people buy old houses and turn them into bed and breakfast places and so on. Done really well. And so on. The best neighborhoods, we know, and you've done this in your readings and so on, are walkable neighborhoods, pre-car neighborhoods where people have to walk to the store, walk to the church, walk to the school. And walking is good for you. One of the things I made my name at is walkability. You know? People want to be able to walk to things, not getting a gas guzzling car, because gas prices are going up, and that means less money for you. So if you walk or ride your bike, it's something really special to do. And we have all these numbers about housing values inside the loop with good neighborhood leadership, whether it's Butchertown, Highlands, Old Louisville, other neighborhoods in the Frankfurt area, and so on. People want to be near places. I know I've talked to you folks before on Friday and Saturday night. Where do you folks want to go on a Friday and Saturday night? What street do you want to go to? Bardstown Road, right? Why do we want to go to Bardstown Road? More people, more interesting people.
More walkable.
What?
More walkable.
More walkable, fun, and everything like that. So they love that. We don't do enough riding our bikes. Many of you, how many walk to school or ride their bikes to school? How many ride your bikes to school? How many don't have a car, you just walk to school? 1, 2. Is there a shame in walking to school?
I do now because my car is.
Okay. You're not ashamed of it, okay. Anyway, the point is, you save, if you walk or ride your bike, according to the American Automobile Association, $8,000 to $10,000 a year in insurance, car payments, and so on. And then you're healthier. Do you know the people that walk like me, 8,000 steps a day, 10,000 steps a day, you'll live 8 years longer, and so on. And you'll be good stewards of the neighborhood. That's one of the things we like to do in terms of that. We believe in terms of renewing neighborhoods, get hold of the pollution that's choking us, and we can see from CDC guidelines that people have more lung disease, heart disease, a whole host of 27 things that are 3 times or 4 times higher because of the chemical factories that are out there. Abandoned homes being turned into affordable and attractive home ownership. Remember me, $35,000 I spent for my first house. And we loved renovating. My wife, my late beautiful wife, told me, I said before she died, I said, you know, beyond the birth of our beautiful children, what was the most pleasurable, happiest time for us? And we've been together for 30 years, from Santa Barbara to Green Bay, Houston, and everything like that. And it was a good question. And she said, when we bought our first house and we renovated it. And it is, you know, it's dusty and dirty and so on, and, you know, taking out the carpets, sanding down the floors, painting it. We made some mistakes and so on, but it was always joyful and pleasurable. How many of you would like to someday preserve a house or save it from demolition and so on? Let me see, raise your hand. Oh, that's good, that's good. There's hope for us, Steve. There's really good hope. Look at that. The traffic line, I just spoke at a big neighborhood meeting. They're going to turn 2nd and 3rd Street into 2-way, so they slow down traffic, and it'll save lives as well. Planting trees. How many of you have makes walking more pleasurable and so on, and it adds value to the house. It cools the house, actually. And I've noticed that with the houses I've owned, I'm embarrassed to tell you, but I've owned about 20 of them, where there's shade and trees, energy costs go way down. I've had one house on in a 3rd floor attic and shaded by trees, and it's absolutely beautiful, and it saves on energy. It was $27 a month. That's amazing. It doesn't have shade, it'd be a lot more. Gary Waltrus, a colleague of Steve here, Steve's said the same thing. Just notion that, you know, you can use sustainable design, and part of it was we put in skylights which lit up in good insulation and so on. I'm a big on installing public art. We just saw on Bardstown Road something going up with the Union Musicians Building and so on, honoring African American heritage. Walkable places, you need something to walk to. So when they zone out grocery stores and even churches sometimes, we got to open up zoning. So we got to open up zoning so that if you have a large home like I have, in terms of allow for a basement conversion or an attic conversion or turn it into a duplex and helping you pay the rent and so on. Making the neighborhood safe, putting the porches on the front of the house so people can watch and meet and commute. And I should add too, creating jobs. Preservation is one of the best job enhancer there is. It's a skill. It's unlike the high school, I'm sorry, the highway development, which is one big steam truck. Every $1 million invested in historic preservation creates roughly 17 to 20 jobs, good paying jobs. And 80% of that goes to people with high school diplomas or less. 80%, 82%. Okay? And these are the people most in need. And at one time, last time I looked, it was 23% of people are without jobs with high school education. That's why many of you are here, trying to get a good college, and that's the ticket to prosperity as well. So I wanted to make sure you knew that. Thanks to the city of Louisville, the program by Jerry Abramson, you could literally buy homes for $1. There's 5,000 of them out there, And I wish they would come up with it, with the new mayor, come up with a better, with a program for people to buy the houses if they promise to fix it up and do improvements to make it more livable. No demolition of housing, keep them and provide opportunities. We have a lot of people recovering drug addicts who are skilled in the area of housing, plumbing, construction, electricians, and so on. And they'd love to do that kind of work instead of picking up garbage on the freeway or highway. Anyway, that's my presentation. And I'd like to have Steve Weiser come up here while the camera's there, and I can work that, and have him